Hello bookish people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and in today's video we are picking my July TBR using my TBR prompts. I love doing this because it's kind of like shopping your shelves. I have this problem where I'm only focused on new release books and wanting to read what's just coming out, and then I neglect the books I already own. So I love to do these even if I don't read my TBR. It's just a way for me to get excited about the books I own because we can all get caught up in the consumerism and the new releases and I have to read this. But no, let's read the books we actually own. So June was actually a really great reading month. I think I'm going to end the month around 10 books. I honestly don't remember what I even picked for my TBR, but I do know that I actually don't know if I read any books for my TBR or not. What happened was I continued my reading slump the first week of June, but then something magically pulled me out of it. I binged like 7 books in a row, and I think I'll be able to finish like 3 books before the end of the month, mainly finishing up the book I'm currently reading and then adding on 2 audiobooks. I think that is so doable. Let's get into it. Let's pick our 10 prompts and what we are going to be reading in July. Prompt number 1. Hopefully we get a good one to start off this video. Like I said, we're going to be picking 10, and this one says a horror book. Let's see. I don't really have any horror books on my TBR card, but let me see what we can work with. I'm actually currently reading a horror book now, which is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, but that doesn't count because I'm definitely going to be finishing it before the end of June. So a horror book that I really do want to read is going to be Murder Road by Simone St. James. Now I don't own this, and the whole point, yes, is to shop my shelves, but if we want to have a realistic TBR, this is what I'm going to be reading in July. I love Simone St. James. I have read The Sundown Motel and The Book of Cold Cases. Both books were 5-star reads for me. And I just can't wait to read her new release because, you know, last year I was deprived of a Simone St. James new release. So this year, I don't care if I own it or not, if I'm spending money going to the library, we are reading Murder Road by Simone St. James. Prompt number 2. Well, hopefully we can pick a book we own this time. Prompt number 2. It says a fantasy book. What fantasy book do we want to read? For this one, I'm going to be picking Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I am so excited about this because I have just been dying for a good haunted house story. This says it is a gorgeously modern gothic fantasy, and I believe it's about this place, Starling House, obviously, and there's like some haunted stuff happening. But it's more in like that fantasy realm rather than a spooky realm, or maybe it's spooky and fantasy combined. I don't really know, but what I do know is I read the latest Riley Sager book in June, and that left me wanting some paranormal stuff, some ghostly stuff, some haunted stuff, and I feel like this will be perfect. Prompt number 3, what are we picking? One-word title. Okay, this one is perfect because I have been thinking about this book non-stop, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I don't know why. This book has like been on my brain that I just like really want to read it. And this book, I feel like everybody knows what it's about. I saw this on a Goodreads list as like the #1 most read fiction book so far in 2024. R.F. Kuang is an author that I have been dying to read. She wrote Babel, she read The Poppy War, and she's an author that intimidates me a little bit because Babel's an intimidating book, okay? And The Poppy War is very high fantasy. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it. I feel like this is gonna be like an easier entry into her writing, so I'm very excited to read it for that reason. Also, I heard the story gets like really chaotic and crazy, and I love a good chaotic and crazy book. Also, it's a fiction book. I mean, that's how it's classified, but it also has a lot of mystery thriller like elements, I think. Also, this book is blurbed by Jessie Q. Sutanto, who I absolutely love, and she has not let me down with her own books, so I doubt she would let me down with her recommendations. So for one-word title, we're going to be reading Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Prompt number 4. We are picking Small Town, a small town book. Okay, what here happens in a small town? For this one, we're going to be picking Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Now, this one doesn't technically take place in a small town, but they are from a small town of Maple Hills, and these 2 characters, they go away to be camp counselors, and a camp is not in like a big city, it's like kind of remote, and where they're from, Maple Hills, that sounds like a small town. So in this book, we're following our main characters, Russ and Aurora. First of all, love that name, and I'm just very excited to read this because I love the premise of like camp counselors. They had a one-night stand, and then they are camp counselors together, but there's a no fraternization policy. I can't say that word, but you know what word I'm trying to say. And yeah, I'm just really excited. I think it's gonna be really cute, especially for the summer, since it takes place at camp. We are in summer. Summer happens, or camp happens during summer. It all goes together, so very excited for this one. Prompt number 5. We have an unread book from Book of the Month. Well, my 3 book of the month things actually have been read, but I do have another unread book of the month here, and that is 5 Broken Blades by May Corland. This is a standalone fantasy book. It is about these 5 assassins that get called to kill this king. And when they're called there to kill this king, one of them actually gets to take the crown, but only one of them can take it. So we have these 5 assassins kind of teaming up together to like create this plan to kill the king. But then I think the other 4 of them out of the 5 are probably going to die because only one can become king. And it says at the end, but for these 5 killers, each versed in deception, lies, and betrayal, it's not enough to forge an alliance. To survive, they'll have to find a way to trust each other, but only one can take the crown. Let the best liar win. And that's what it says on the back. And I'm just obsessed with the cover, obsessed with the premise, sounds really fun, and this was my May book of the month pick. Prompt number 6, what are we gonna read? We are reading a thriller. What thriller do we have up here? Honestly, I'm in such a thriller mood too. For this one, we're going to be picking The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is like a YA mystery thriller, so you know what? It goes. This is Holly Jackson's latest release. I am so excited to read it. I kind of have vague memories that this was in my June TBR and I didn't read it, but July is the month that we are going to read it. I just love Holly Jackson. I love the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy, plus the novella. It was all great, amazing time, and I'm just going to go into this book blind. Honestly, I feel like that's like the best way to do it. Like once you know an author, you love the way they tell stories, you love their writing style, you generally love their plots. Like for me, I think it's more fun to go into a book without reading the synopsis. But of course, when it's an author you don't know, it's hard to do that. But when you know and trust an author, you don't have to read the synopsis. You could just go in and get taken for a ride. And that's what I'm going to do for this book. Prompt number 7. We are clearing off the top shelf of this TBR cart. Prompt number 7. What is it going to be? It says, a book you own that is trending on Goodreads. Do I have any books that I own that are trending on Goodreads? Let me check. So if you go on Goodreads, you go to the Explorer, you scroll to the bottom, you can see the books that are trending. Now this is like the very last page of what is trending, and we have This Is How You Lose the Time Word by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. I am super excited to read this. I'm a little worried though because I've heard that it can be confusing, and hopefully I have the mental capacity for a confusing book, but I'm very excited. I love time travel, and this book has time travel in it. And is there also like a bit of romance in here? This book is about 2 rival agents in a war that stretches between the vast reaches of time and space. That's just like a general little blurb from the back. I think it'll be a good book. I've seen so many people rate this book 5 stars, so I'm really excited to see what I think of it. I'm going to go in with an open mind and pay attention, and hopefully nothing goes over my head. Prompt number 8, let's see what we pick. Something fell out. A cozy book. A cozy book. I don't think I have a cozy book on here per se, but I did just borrow a Kindle book from my library, the follow-up to The Maid, which I have over there. I love The Maid. It was one of my favorite books when I read it. I rated it 5 stars. Now, I listened to that on the audiobook version of it, and I thought the narrator did an amazing job, especially portraying Molly, who is a bit of like a different type of character, right? Like, listening to it on audio I think was really beneficial because I think a lot of like the negative reviews I saw came from people reading it physically. Hopefully me reading it physically on my Kindle doesn't change the experience versus listening to the audiobook, because sometimes I feel like narrators can really make or break a story. So we shall see, but all I know is I love Molly the Maid. I can't wait to continue reading on her journey and The Mystery Guest. So I'm very excited that Nita Prose is writing more, and I just saw that they're coming out with a Christmas novella later on this year that I'm also very excited to read. Prompt number 9. Let's see what it is. Dual POV, a dual POV book. Let me see if I have any dual POV books on this shelf. For dual POV, we're going to be picking The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. Literally just before finishing this video, I finished the audiobook for Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Absolutely loved it, rated it 5 stars. The last 3 books, and the only books I read by her, but the 3 books that I have read by her, I rated 5 stars for all of them. Like, she is just an amazing writer. She is one of my favorite romance authors ever. So of course we have to read this book, which I have recently thrifted. Well, recently, within the past 2-3 months, I thrifted it. And yeah, this has dual POV. We're following Kristen and Josh. I don't know anything other than that. All I know is I flipped through it and I saw their 2 names. And I was like, oh great, dual POV. This is what we're reading in July. The last prompt for this video, what is the last book we're going to be prioritizing in the month of July? Of course, I'll be adding books to this TBR. Well, reading books that aren't on this TBR. Maybe I'll read some from this TBR. You'll have to stick around for my July wrap up to see what gets read and what doesn't. But what is the last book we are reading in the month of July? Taking a long time because I want it to be a good one that we've never gotten before. It says an animal on the cover, which I actually think I picked last time, But for this one, I mean, come on now. There's a clear animal on this cover. So we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This book is a romantasy. It's going to be different from anything she's ever written before. And I need that because Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, that book, you know, I'm not in love with Not in Love, not even in the slightest bit. I'm actually in extreme dislike for that book. So Ali Hazelwood needs to redeem herself, and I think she could do it with Bride because I love a good werewolf story. Give me the Twilight vibes. I'm here for it. So this is the book we're picking for Animal on the cover. So here we have my TBR for July, plus The Mystery Guest, plus Murder Road by Simone St. James. I am so excited to read all these books. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!
It was a long time from where we started, day to day. I had these feelings all inside and they wouldn't fade away. By the seaside